Welcome back to another full workout vlog. Today we're going to be hitting biceps and shoulders. I'm going to walk you through the entire workout, all of the movements, sets, reps, explanations for why I'm doing them, any tips or tricks that I have for that mind-muscle connection with those movements. We're also going to be going over the pre and post-workout meals, making them together. I'm going to show you the macros for those and explain to you exactly what I'm doing right now. I'm in a 15% caloric deficit. I'm on a cut trying to get shredded for summer. So stick around, we're going to make some food. Okay, so that's our pre-workout meal. We've got 5 egg whites, 5 pieces of Canadian bacon, a half an avocado, over 2 pieces of sourdough bread, homemade sourdough bread that my wife made, and then a half cup of grapes, and we've got our protein shake as well. I'll throw the macros up on the screen so you can see that, and we'll give it about an hour before we take our pre-workout and head to the gym. All right, so we're starting to feel that superhuman pre-workout start to kick in. That's got a ton of caffeine in it, and I definitely needed it today. I feel like I was kind of dragging a bit, so I think it's just like twice the amount of the normal scoop. So if you decide to go ahead and grab that, use code PERK, you'll get 15% off. So we're gonna start this workout just like we would any other workout with a 5-minute warm-up on the Stairstepper. Again, this is just gonna get the blood flowing in your body, gonna help you prevent injuries, and I think it's proven that it's going to help you perform better in the gym once you get that blood moving. Okay, from here we're going to head over to the overhead press machine. I usually do like a banded warm up, and I forgot to record that, so I'll have to include that in the next one, but I do something before I hit this first compound movement, just kind of a dynamic stretch with bands to warm up my shoulders. So this machine is definitely one of my favorites for hitting a shoulder press. It's definitely the most comfortable machine for overhead pressing for me. I have a shoulder impingement in one of my shoulders, so I got to be really careful with the movements that I do, and a lot of times overhead barbell pressing and overhead dumbbell pressing will kind of aggravate that, but I find that I can go really heavy on this machine and not feel any sort of pain in my shoulders. So I think it has a lot to do with the position that you're in. You're sitting like at an incline bench basically, and what would be the bar path where your hands are as you lock out is relatively straight. So I think that has a lot to do with it. Just personally, it's one of my favorite machines for overhead pressing. So we're going to go pretty heavy with these 4 working sets at around 8 to 10 reps. You could go as low as 6 for these. You're going to want to really just shock your shoulders to start the workout here. Okay, from here we're going to move on to a seated lat raise. For these, I like to set up on the very end of the bench. You can see my butt's almost falling off the bench here. And I do that so I can let the dumbbells come down a little bit further and kind of underneath my legs. I don't think it has any real benefit outside of not hitting the bench with the dumbbells when you come down. So I think it's just kind of a habit for me. But for these, you're going to want to keep your upper body completely upright, perpendicular with that bench for the most part. I think as you lower the weight down, between your legs like I am here, you can lean forward slightly. The biggest thing is you don't want to use a ton of momentum getting the weight up, so you don't want to swing a bunch. So we're targeting our side delts here, and that's definitely one of the most difficult muscles to feel that mind-muscle connection with. At least for me personally, it has been, and I know a lot of clients have the same issue. And the biggest problem I see is people are going too heavy with the weight and not doing enough reps. So if that's you, if you have an issue feeling that mind-muscle connection with those lateral raises, I definitely consider, cutting the weight in half with the dumbbells and then doubling the reps. And I'm not saying do that as a program. I'm just saying do that for one workout and just see if you can notice a difference in that mind-muscle connection with your side delts. A couple cues I have for this, you want to lead with your elbows. Think about leading with your elbows as you raise up, sweeping the weight out to your side. So really focus on sweeping that weight out like in an arc away from you, leading with your elbows. That's really going to help. Also, you don't want the dumbbells to be completely to your side as you raise up. You want to have your wrists just slightly ahead of your elbows. I usually hit these for 3 or 4 sets at 15 to 20 reps. Okay, next we got a chest supported Y raise. This has been, in the last probably 6 months, my absolute favorite movement for hitting my side delts. Okay, so setting up face down on the 30 to 40 degree bench here is really going to challenge you. It makes any sort of front, side, or Y raise from this position like infinitely more difficult. In this position, you can't really use momentum to get the weight up. You can't really cheat, and so it's really going to target your side delts if you're doing a Y raise like this. As you raise up again, lead with your elbows, kind of keeping them high. And I tend to have a slight downward angle with my hands on the dumbbell. So my pinkies are just slightly higher than my thumbs. And so for these, you want to be somewhere between a front raise and a side raise. So, creating a Y with your arms as you raise up, probably at about a 45-degree angle. These things definitely suck, but it's worth it, trust me. I'm shooting for 3 or 4 sets at around 15 reps. So as you burn out here, the closer you get to failure, it's going to be harder, obviously, to lift your hands above your head. But really focus on completing half reps. And so these aren't cheat reps, they're just half of the normal reps. So you're going to want to keep the tempo the same as you would for a full rep, but just try to pump out as many half reps as you can until you're at complete failure. Moving on, we're going to hit an upright row. Now this is definitely an optional movement for you if you have any sort of shoulder issues or impingements. You can just stay away from this movement. But I find it's one of the best builders of my side delts, at least for me personally. Going heavy with these. But the biggest thing for these is going to be going really wide with your grip. So significantly outside of shoulder width on the barbell. And as you raise up, think about, again, leading with your elbows towards the ceiling. So pointing your elbows at the ceiling, forming that 90 degrees in your elbow joint at the top of the movement. And a lot of times I'll see people, especially as the weight starts to get heavier with these, sort of lean forward with their upper body, have a slight lean forward, and you want to avoid that. So stay upright as you can. And you want to keep that bar path straight. So from the starting position all the way up to, your chest, you want that bar path to be straight up and down. I usually hit these for 3 sets at around 8 to 10 reps. Now we hit our front delts, obviously, with the overhead press movement that we did at the start, but we want to also hit them with some sort of front raise. And so here I opted to do front raises with a barbell, and I didn't add any weight to them. I just tried to pump out as many reps as I could at 4 sets. So for these, you want to keep a slight bend in your elbow. You don't want your arms to be completely straight. And as we raise up, we're going to come just above shoulder height. So shoulder height or just slightly above at the top of the movement. Slow and controlled, again, obviously on the way down. And that'll burn out our front delts. Okay, moving on to one of the most underdeveloped muscle groups on bodybuilders. One of the most underdeveloped muscle groups on anyone, really. And those are your rear delts. This is one of my favorite movements for this. And it's a reverse cable fly. So you have to set up at a dual cable machine for these. And you can see how I set this up here. I grab the cable with my opposite arm, pull that across. Do the same for the other arm. Put my arms out in front of me before I start flying. The cables are set up pretty high, and that's on purpose, so we don't want to be flying straight back like you would at a reverse pec deck. We're looking to start with our hands up pretty high in front of us, probably at around a 40-degree angle. And as we fly backwards, we're flying down as well. Just like your side delts, this one I think is hard for people to feel that mind-muscle connection with and feel any sort of activation with. And so a lot of times, for that reason, people will skip it or they won't do it properly. But the biggest keys I have for this, and I've said it before, but you want to lead with your elbows. So maintaining that mostly the same angle in your elbow throughout the entirety of the movement. So I wouldn't even think about, what your hands are doing. Really focus on driving your elbows backwards and thinking about pulling with your rear delts. So I know it seems kind of cheesy, but the more you focus on that muscle as you're working it, the better chances are you're going to have a good mind-muscle connection with it. So I didn't end up recording the next movement, but I always do a face pull to also hit my rear delts. So I'll try to incorporate that definitely into the next one, but you want to have a face pull as well as a rear fly in the rotation for your rear delts. I'm doing this reverse fly for about 3 or 4 sets at 8 to 10 reps. We're going to finally move on to biceps. Now I do this movement twice a week. For this specific workout, shoulders were prioritized. And the next time I hit it in the week, I'm going to prioritize and start with biceps. So just keep that in mind. We're going to do pretty simple movements for biceps here, but they're definitely effective. First movement, we're going to set up at a preacher curl station. If you don't have a machine like this at your gym, you can also just set up at a preacher curl station and do them with a curl bar, like an easy bar. So a while back, I noticed that as I was progressively overloading my biceps doing curls, that I started to feel that mind-muscle connection with them less and less as I added more weight. So in an attempt to feel that mind-muscle connection again, I've lowered the weight drastically. So for these, I'm doing 4 to 5 sets at 15 to 20 reps, leaning more towards the 20 reps, sometimes even 25 reps. Now the RPE hasn't changed for these, so I would keep the RPE at an 8 or a 9, which means you have 1 or 2 reps left in the tank. So that's just shifting. So normally it would be like 8 reps to 10 reps, and have 1 rep left in the tank. Now we've upped it. So the intensity isn't dropping because we're adding more sets. We're just moving where that point of failure is in the set. Next up, we're gonna hit another machine. It's a sort of behind the back curl machine. You can see that the bench is like at a 45-degree angle, like an incline bench would be. And this is how I would normally set up, behind the back dumbbell or cable curls. You wanna do your best to keep your head back here throughout the entirety of the movement and let your arms come all the way down so they're completely straight at the bottom. And if you follow me for any length of time, you'll know that I really stress the pinky cue with any sort of curl movements. And that is just taking the weight of whatever you're doing. So if it's a cable handle or a dumbbell, taking the weight of most of that with your pinky. So it kind of forces you to supinate or keep supination in mind as you curl, and that really helps with activation. I'm going to hit these for 3 or 4 sets at 8 to 10 reps. Okay, moving on. This is our last movement. We're only doing 3 for biceps today. We're going to hit our brachialis with a cable hammer curl. So the brachialis is the muscle that sits just under the bicep here. Developing this is going to push your arm out and up to the side, giving it a wider appearance. So if you looked at your arm straight on, you would see that profile, that bulge coming out to the side. So we're going to set up at a cable machine here at its slowest setting. Take about a step or 2 away from it. Just grabbing the end of the cable machine. So usually there's a ball at the end of the machine. We're just going to hold on to that. The biggest thing is, like, you could use a D handle or something, but you need to have your hand in a neutral grip position. So make a fist. You're going to keep that fist straight up and down, neutral grip position throughout the entirety of the movement. Again, you want to stay slow and controlled, especially on the eccentric with these, and then really explode, leading with your thumb as you curl back up. And as I do these, you can kind of see the brachialis sort of bulging out to the side there between the front of my bicep and my tricep. I'm going to keep it heavy with these and keep the intensity pretty high. So like really close to failure, RPE 9, 4 sets at 8 to 10 reps. And that's it for movements. We're going to move on to the Stairstepper for our cardio. As I mentioned earlier, I'm in a deficit right now, trying to get shredded for summer. It's a slight deficit, so we're in a 15 to 20%, but cardio is definitely going to help. So the cardio game has been upped. We're doing 40 to 50 minutes on a Stairstepper, and that's around 600 to 700 calories burned. And the Stairstepper is probably my favorite form of LISS cardio, low intensity, steady state cardio, which is best for if you're trying to maintain muscle on a cut or if you're trying to build muscle. It's definitely the best for that. So if you're considering doing either of those, I'd avoid any sort of HIIT cardio and stick to LISS. And so that's a wrap on our bicep and shoulder workout. I'm going to finish up cardio and head home, and we'll see you there for our post-workout meal. There we go. There's our post-workout meal. We got 150 grams of chicken. We got a half cup of sweet potatoes, a half cup of squash, and about another half cup of quinoa. Major hack here for the quinoa: if you cook it in bone broth, the flavor goes nuts. So I'm not a huge fan of quinoa generally, but when it's cooked in bone broth like this, I think it's really good. So if you haven't tried that, definitely give it a try. I'll throw the macros up on the screen here for you for this post-workout meal. It also includes a post-workout protein shake. So that includes 1/2 scoop of casein protein and a 1/2 scoop of whey. And that's it. I hope you enjoyed this bicep and shoulder workout vlog. Like, subscribe, leave a comment, and let me know what you want to see in upcoming videos.